This is The Yay. I'm Reg Clay.
And Norman G.
This is The Yay, where we talk about life in the theater and the theater of life.
Yay!
Happy Juneteenth. Happy Pride Month. We want to
Father's Day.
Yeah, that's right. Pre-Father's Day. We want to thank Central Works for sponsoring The Yay. Central Works, a new play theater headed up by Gary Graves and Jan Sleifler. Central Works, reinventing theater one play at a time. Once again, we want to thank Central Works for sponsoring us, and our wonderful consulting producer, Mallory Somera. Thank you so much, Mallory, for everything that you do. We had our 200th episode last week, and that was fantastic.
That was wonderful.
And now we have a fantastic guest, Alan Quismorio. Alan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm so honored to be kicking off your next 200 episode.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, God willing. And Alan, you have done so much stuff. You are the former chair of GAPA, the Gay Asian Pacific Alliance, a social welfare organization. You were the former head of Bindlestiff Studios, and you've done so much. You've been an actor, you've been a director, you've been a creator, and we're talking about your next project. Has it amazed you, that you built such an incredible career here in the Bay Area?
Well, the way that you put it, yes, I'm a little bit amazed that I was able to last this long,
Right?
And not really given up and not have taken my eyes off the prize. It's been quite a journey, and I'm so glad that we are here. We, being the world in general, are here today, where we're finally, really talking about equity in all regards. Because when I got into the theater community in San Francisco, it was just me trying to get into shows, no matter what show it was, no matter what part it was. I just want to be seen, and I had to compete against actors who did not look like me and who are more understandable, the casting directors. So I really had to sell myself. But
that was a nice way of putting that.
Yeah,
that was polite.
Right. If there's anything I've learned as an artistic director, I have to be polite.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. And we'll talk more about you and your great career and the careers that you are creating for others. As I begin every podcast, Norman, how was your week?
I should run up and grab this. I was saying I'm just taking over my space again. Every so often, Dexter wants to have friends over. And so last night was one of those nights. And I'd initially said he could do it. And then I ended up picking up a gig. So I needed to Zoom until 9:00 last night. And then they came over. Well, they spent some time out back. They were actually pretty quiet. I didn't realize how many people were here or what was going on. But I go out this morning and there's the lid to a, what is it? Kettle. The kettle vodka.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, y'all, not even 20-year-old. Okay, whatever. But they straightened the room up. The two of them slept down here, apparently. They straightened the room up nicely, folded up the blankets and everything. I'm like, okay, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, there you go. So there have been a couple of current events. Well, Juneteenth. I mean, I was planning to go to work on Thursday, and all of a sudden, I've never seen a president sign a bill and it affect people within the hour.
Right.
And, that was awesome. So Juneteenth, I was chilling at home, and it was really, really nice. But it's wonderful commemoration, the recognition that slavery was wrong, and the recognition that it was in Texas where slaves found out for the first time, hey, we're free. And so that was very nice, and surprisingly bipartisan. I'm a little surprised that the Senate actually passed it, so that was cool.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's funny, Mara and I were talking about it this morning, and I forget how she said it, but because that's the date when because they didn't find out until then, and I'm like, no, that's a very passive explanation. Oh, word didn't get to Texas. That's what she said, and I'm like, no. Texas knew. Texas chose not to tell the slaves.
Right,
for 2
exactly.
years.
Exactly. And there was a lot of that going on. Yeah, so it was very, very cool, and a nice bipartisan thing, and who knows, that may be a sign of good things to come as far as Biden passing things.
Right.
Right.
We will see.
We will see. This I want to talk about In the Heights. There's a bit of controversy. You guys have heard about this?
Yes, the color.
Yeah, apparently the cast of In the Heights is a little too white or a little too light-skinned.
Light skin. Yeah.
Light-skinned Latinos, and dark-skinned Latinos are taking issue with it. So,
Right.
and Rita Moreno, she sort of stepped in to try to defend Lin-Manuel Miranda, who actually said, "Hey, listen, you're absolutely right. We should have more darker-skinned Latinos."
Yep.
So it's interesting.
Right. It is.
They could darken them.
Well, let's talk about that. What were you saying, Alan?
Oh, I was just, I don't know. I was just being the chorus.
So that's, and I always try to squeeze one fun thing. So apparently a New York private school has gotten into trouble for teaching first graders about masturbation. Have you heard about this?
No.
Wait,
First grade?
First grade.
Damn, I wish they'd hook me
First
up.
grade.
Okay. Well, I'm interested why.
Yeah, I have no idea, and of course they didn't tell the parents, and the parents were of course up at arms. I think for a good reason. Yeah, this is the news that I found on this was TMZ, and oh shucks, I can't even find the article. Okay, I'm not even going to worry about it. But in any case, yeah. So I remember having a okay, I found it. Angry parents rail on private school for teaching first graders about masturbation, and don't let their parents touch you without
Come on, that doesn't even sound right.
If you're spending, and these folks are spending $55,000 to send their kids to school every year. Anyway.
Well, you'd want to make sure your kids knew how to do it right. I mean, come on.
I think I'm a progressive thinker, but even that, I would need to kind of know more about the rationale behind all that. That's just so off the wall.
Well, it sounds so clickbaity. I wonder what they actually taught.
So there's a cartoon. A teacher at the Dalton School reportedly shows students a video from the cartoon series Amaze. A little boy in the video asks about erections. Hey, how come sometimes my penis gets big sometimes and points in the air? The boy adds, sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good. In any case, this is I guess a cartoon. Crazy. Some parents were, of course, bent out of shape, according to the New York Post, but the real anger was triggered over consent. The students reportedly are taught not to let their parents or grandparents touch them without asking for permission first. So.
Yeah, well, that discussion has been going on for a long time, unfortunately.
Yeah. In any case, so that's what's going on in the news. And well, Alan, let me ask you, how have you and your husband surviving COVID-19? You guys are vaccinated and are healthy, and
yes, we're both vaccinated. He got vaccinated before I did, because he's in the food prep industry, and I just can't tell you how liberating it is to get to this point. Yes, I'm still very mindful about the mask wearing and other people's comfort level about that. But for me personally, I'm really glad that I don't have to wear a mask around my first level, second level, third level bubbles. And yeah, I this COVID epidemic really brought out a lot of truths in our relationships, and sometimes it was negative, and many times it was positive. And in this case, it was very positive because we spent so much time together, and we really enjoyed each other's company, and it just felt right that we should dedicate the rest of our lives together. So, and that's what we did.
When?
In September 18th. So originally,
yay!
Through the county of Alameda, because San Francisco was just too slow for us.
But I'm glad Alameda was on top of something. Yay!
Yay! Right. Originally, it was scheduled for September 11th, and we called and said, "This does not bode well for our marriage."
Right.
But then we delay it another week.
No, that's awesome. That is just fantastic. And, we hear the other stories where couples get together and they're forced together during COVID-19. and it drives them apart because they're not used to just spending all of their time together, and some uncomfortable truths come out. But it sounds like it was the opposite for the two of you, where you
Yeah.
realize you can survive even this, and survive being together in seclusion, and it all worked out. That's awesome.
We got closer, and we really were. We had to be honest with each other, and that honesty really kind of brought us together.
Very, very cool. Well, let's get to an origin story. Alan Quismorio, where were you born and raised? We were talking a little bit off mic, but you've told me. But why don't you tell our audience where you're born and raised, and how theater grabbed you?
Right. I was born in the Philippines. I was born in a city called Quezon City, which is part of Metro Manila. I was then, my early childhood was then spent up north in the Ilocos region of the country. And in 1978, we immigrated to California. My dad had already established his medical practice here in the States, and we just followed him. And we set up camp in Vallejo, California. And that's where I spent the rest of my childhood and adolescence. And that's where I discovered theater through Vallejo Children's Theater, which no longer exists. But it really, the first show I saw through Vallejo Children's Theater was Oklahoma. And I remember this staging began with Curly on an actual horse coming from behind the auditorium and singing "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." And I thought it was so cool. And as soon as
what theater is this that was able to get a horse on stage?
I don't know what strings they pulled, but they got a horse to kind of gallop slowly down the aisle and up the stage.
I would hate to be the stage manager and having to clean up after the horse.
It was a children's theater production, so it was like, oh, okay. But it just seduced me that as soon as the show was over, there were people up front from the organization selling season tickets. But I asked, well, how can I be part of this? And that was my in. And to be honest with you, I think I was only one Filipino boy in that whole class. Once I was cast in, everybody there was blondes and redheads and chocolate, and not chocolate, but yeah, chocolate covered or colored hair. I was the only one with dark hair.
Wow, wow. You had mentioned that your family came in 1978. Was the Marcos regime there? Was Ferdinand Marcos?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys escaped that.
Yes. So as a child, because I lived in the Ilocos region, which is Marcos country, growing up, I didn't see that. I was protected by that. And it was only after I left the country and I heard from the families of my friends of their experiences in the Philippines that I realized that martial law was not good for the rest of the country. And so escaping it, I escaped the country, but I didn't know that I was escaping it.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, we're just coming off of not to compare Trump to Marcos, but we have no, us Americans, we have no idea of what it is to live in a sort of a country ruled by a dictator. It's no
right
way of saying.
Oh yeah. I think that Americans just do not know what they're asking for or what they were asking for when Trump was around. Yeah.
Yeah,
and because some of Trump's supporters came from countries with dictatorships. So
right,
yeah, you're right. There is a Latino community that, for whatever reason, they have an appreciation for a strong man until your rights are violated. So, now, when in high school, were you involved in theater heavily in high school?
I was. I got involved. I was in theater in grade school. I was in theater in middle school, and I definitely was in theater in high school. I was in the drama club administration. So I was vice president at some point of the club. And from there, as I was getting ready to graduate, I started looking into the various projects in the community. And so I did shows with Bay Area Music Theater. I did shows with Solana College Theater. Yeah.
No, that is awesome. And when you went to college, did you study theater? What college did you go to?
So I transferred to SF State from Solana College, but at that point, my advisor told me, you're a talented enough young man. I don't think that you'll have any problems getting jobs in San Francisco in the theater. I think that you should spend your time. I think you should spend your time at SF State learning something that was more practical. So, I said, well, you're the adult in the room, you're the authority in the room. I will totally listen to you. Mm-hmm. So I transferred to SF State from Solana College as a broadcast major, and which is it's not such a radical step. So I did that, and I actually got an internship with a radio station. But that was also around the time when the industry was being deregulated, and so the whole TV and radio industry changed, and it wasn't what I signed up for. It became less personal, it became less creative, and more money driven.
Yeah, and you actually worked for KDFC FM, is that right?
That's right.
What'd you do there?
I was an intern, and I ended my tenure there as a programming coordinator.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things. I mean, about you, from what I've, working with you, and we met each other at Stories High in 2011. That's when Bindlestiff had opened up its new facility. At least it was new then. Actually, it's since 2011. This is the 10-year anniversary. That's awesome. But you were the director. You were the artistic director, and you were sort of the sage. I always think of you as the sage in the room, the one who sort of controls everything. And it sounds like you've been doing that throughout your entire life, whether it be the GAPA or program coordinator at KDFC. Do you see yourself more as an administrator, or would you like to be on stage more?
That's a good question. I always go back and forth. Whenever I'm on stage and doing shows, I always long for just being backstage and really calling the shots. And then when I'm on that side, then I want the other side. I'm never really satisfied. But looking back on it all, I would not change anything. I think that every experience I've had, I'm just glad I had it. It's something to really, like you said, it's something to pass on to the next generation and kind of advise them, about what to expect and what to do, and to let them take that advice and take it to kind of heart, and not necessarily take it per se, but keep in the back of their heads so that they're walking into things a little more clear-eyed.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Norman, I'll bring you in. How did the two of you meet or have worked together?
I don't remember how we met.
Word for word.
Oh, geez. Yes. Oh, the crazy ass, the nightmare.
Nightmare. Oh my God.
Oh God, that was such a weird story. And word for word style is to take literature and translate it to the stage verbatim, exactly as it is on the page, supposedly. That was a struggle, but man, we worked hard.
We did work hard. And I was still working at the radio station at that time, and I had to be really creative about taking time off there,
right,
to make the school tours. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it really took me into my paces that day.
Well, no, you showed up. You showed up like a professional, ready to go. I was excited to see. It's always great to get to learn that there are other people out there really doing this, especially in the Bay Area, because we all have day jobs.
Right.
We all are trying to do that hustle, but when you find the way to balance both, cool. And, because came out of college very familiar with the Asian American theater community and the Filipino theater community, I was like, oh, okay, more people. Yay. God, we got to do something.
Right. And there's
always that feeling we got to do something, but finding somebody to pay for it.
right? And everybody who had day jobs had to do this whole thing ninja style.
Yeah.
Oh, ninja style, what? They have to sneak to do the job?
Well,
or something?
taking time off and
Oh,
planning your vacation. I know, I don't know how many years where my vacation was just about when do I need the time off because I'm doing a show.
Right.
yeah, I've had to do that too. Jeannie Baroga, she's using the Yay and I guess other material she's writing a book, I guess an anthology on
Yep.
Filipino Americans.
I think it's Katagan.
Katagan? Yeah, I think you're right. And she's been pouring into some of the interviews that we've had with Filipino Americans, especially how Bindlestiff, what it meant to them.
Right.
Let's get your perspective because you were sort of part of you along with Alan Manalo, sort of helped build it together. What does Bindlestiff mean to you?
Well, so let me first kind of go back. So Bindlestiff actually, it's square on Alan Manalo's lap. He is the man.
Yep.
All right. I came in sort of midway. I came in right before they moved into the new space. So we have to give him credit for that. We have to give all the artists that came before me credit for that.
Yeah.
But,
TNT.
Right.
Teatro and Tenang. Good shit.
Yeah. And so, me coming into Bindlestiff was such an honor. And it also just made me more aware of my Filipino-ness. Because like I said, I don't know, before the interview or during the interview, I had to had to really kind of work with the rules that the theater community at that point had for actors of color, which is just, kind of do here's what we can offer you, and that's all we can offer you.
Right.
Bindlestiff made me realize more that I need to be active about my voice and how it's going to be expressed on a medium like the stage. So, and going into Bindlestiff as an artistic director, I had to satisfy that through the paint that is the artists in that space. So I really kind of hoped that I was able to instill all the joy and the love and all that within the actors for them to be able to create what they created.
Yeah, I think so.
And I would throw a question in here because I know we got to work together, and then the next thing I remember being aware of with you was your work with Crowded Fire.
Right. That was somewhere in the middle. Right.
Yeah, and that was great because it was another small company that was doing really powerful work, and it was an ensemble effort. So you all had a voice in what was going on. And again, I was very excited to see somebody of color in that conversation. So when I knew you were moving on to Bindlestiff, I was like, I know the experience that you were going to bring to this.
A lot of what I brought to Bindlestiff was a lot from Kind of Fire, the discipline that Rebecca Novick and that company instilled in me. Yeah.
It was wild because Bindlestiff always has this feeling of sort of a clubhouse.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Lord knows we need a place where we can hang out. But to also say, no, seriously, here's how you make a show. Here's how you really bring a show to life. This isn't just about you getting on stage and trying to show off. There's more to it.
Yeah, and that's the foundation. And I think you made that very, very clear when we began Stories High, that, these are the rules. I mean, you can still have fun, but there's some fundamentals that we have to, hold on to. And I think that's something that Aurino Mario has sort of inherited from you. I think, you sort of wrote the playbook that
I'm very excited for
you're using.
Huh? I'm very excited for Aureen to be at the helm there.
Yeah, no, she's done fantastic, and we had her on, and she talked. So now you are involved there's a new project that you're doing along with Eli Sonny Urquiza and Crystal Piemonte. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so it's called the Chikahan Company, and it's a company that is dedicated to creating works that speak of our Filipino X community. It's about their stories being told by their people. And we're hoping that this is, and so the three of us, we also have, ties to Bindlestiff. And Bindlestiff, has a huge responsibility to the community. So, it's a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? It's just multifaceted, Bindlestiff. And it's there for the community, and it's a very valuable part of the community. The Chicago company is a little bit more specific. We really want to focus more on creating new works, new opportunities for the Filipino and Filipinx artist community, and hopefully, expand those works that come out of it to become more available and create more opportunities nationally.
No, I think that sounds fantastic. Is it Chican, Chican? Is that what it is?
Chican, yeah. It's from the Tagalog word for gossiping.
Ah, I see.
Storytelling, gossiping.
Yeah.
And yeah. And can you see the background behind me? That's our little mascot.
Yeah. And we'll, of course, we're videoing this so other people can see it as well. Now, that'll be cool. Is there a website that people?
We don't have a website. We're working on a website. We do have a Facebook page. So look for us there. It's #Chican Company.
Right on. Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. Do you enjoy directing? I mean, I know that you have directed, but you may have just been thrown in that task. But right. Do you enjoy that, or do you enjoy acting? What aspect of theater do you really enjoy the most?
I enjoy both. I'm a top and bottom.
Nothing wrong with that.
What directing gives me is to be able to get inside these characters that I normally would not be cast for, and really, and directing shows, I would say, really help me understand human nature better. And each time I direct, I understand human nature even better, because while I ask my actors to do a lot of homework and to look into it, I'm in the mud with them. I'm working through this with them so that I fully understand the world that they're going for and what they're seeing, and how the outside world affects us all.
No, that's cool. One question that I've asked a bunch of other directors, we've had Dawn Monique Williams on as a director, and Susan Evans, and a bunch of others. Because I've always felt that the art of the director, and I've never directed anything in my life, is to speak to different actors who may come from different cultures and different acting backgrounds and techniques. And how do you find the voice? Because I remember talking with Craig Souza. He was directing one show. It was a comedy, and one actor was not getting it. And how do you find that you have to I guess speak in different voices or different languages? Have you had an experience where one actor wasn't getting it?
Right.
What tools do you use regarding that?
Well, one of the things that my day job has
your video went out, Alan.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
sorry.
Can you see me now? Okay. Sorry.
No, perfect.
There we go.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to hold this now. So one of the things that my day job gave us were these workshops, and one of the workshops I took through work is called situational management, and that really kind of helped me understand that everybody is different, and your management approach should be customized to that person. So I brought that into the theater, and in the casting, I really, that's where it begins, right? You kind of figure out, well, this is how I see the character to be. Let me see if I can find it in these actors. And even then, I'm open-minded. I want to see if my mind could be changed. Like some actor could come in with a totally different approach to what I have in mind, and it just totally makes sense, and it makes me very interested to go in that direction. But in rehearsal, that's when the director becomes the painter, and you need to understand your paint and your canvas and how your canvas work together, and how it captures the light. You need to make what you have there shine on their own.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent analogy. And just thinking, I want to bring Norman in because when we talk about other companies and the BIPOC community, people of color, when we are cast into a show, of course, we want to tell our story, but we want to be treated with respect. And I think
Right.
that a lot of, let's say a director says, oh, we need a Black person, we need an Asian person, but
Yeah.
you don't know how to approach them, correctly. You just can't be the token person. But Norman, I would ask you this question. Do you think that may be one of the problems within the theater community, especially when we deal with the subject of people of color? You may hire someone, or someone may hire you as a Black person, but do they know how to truly approach you? I mean, not necessarily to speak to a Black person, but speak to you as a human being.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's weird. A big part of the casting process is just to see how well you vibe with somebody. So I always find it interesting when I get in a situation where I have no idea what the director is expecting from me.
Right.
Like I wouldn't have cast me in this role, but you chose to cast me in this role. I don't really know what's on your mind. I know what I think of the character, and where race is a factor in that. It's not like I sit down and go, okay, so this character's a Black man and he needs to blah, blah, blah. That's not
Right.
the reality of it. But I'm recognizing that my director may have some specific things in mind. And how do you communicate? If you communicate that, how do you communicate that? For me, it's the same task that I feel like every actor has. And for me, the recognition. So I met Alan fairly early in my career. The recognition that as a person of color, as a performer of color, I was having to make some choices about what I was doing with the character, whether or not the director was making those choices. I had to make those choices. And I quickly learned that added some really cool things to the character that is going to allow the audience to have a new experience. And again, maybe the director didn't have that in mind, but I knew that I had to deal with it. So to meet another performer of color who's out there working in the same way, because the other thing is you can be that ethnically specific person. I could be Black, and
Right.
that's one thing. But when I meet somebody and they're not being boxed into that ethnic identity, it's like, well, this is who I am. I bring that with me as part of who I am, but it's, maybe this much of who I am, but you can't ignore it. It's there.
Right.
So I always find that an interesting dynamic, and I love it when there can be the conversation with a director. I find it's sort of like the same conversation about interracial dating. If I'm trying to get laid tonight, we are not about to have a conversation about race.
Right.
Right, exactly.
I don't want you to go, oh, wait, damn, you're a Black man? No. We weren't casting a Black man in this role. We have to get rid of you. So for me, I'm like, no, I'm not going to bring this up. I'm not going to mention this, but I still have to deal with it.
Right.
It's interesting. I remember we had Jed Presario on, and he talked about, I'm not sure if it happened at Shotgun, but it was a play that he was cast in.
Yeah.
And the director was like, well, you're not acting, that's not the Filipino that type character that we were looking to. Can you act more Filipino? The director had a perception of what a Filipino person was. And I remember Jed was saying, well, what type of Filipino do you want tonight? Do you want, what you saw on the daytime soaps, or, whatever you saw on, I don't know, ABS, CBN, or, ASAP, or he was very, very offended. Have you had to deal with that at all, Alan?
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna name you the theater company, but I remember auditioning for a piece. It was about a Chinese American, and this was the 90s. So at that point there was a dearth of Asian actors. So any Asian actor of any color, of any background was auditioning for this piece, and I remember going in there, and I think I did a really good job with it, but the casting director said, you're not Asian enough. And I'm thinking, well, I am Asian, so how can I not be Asian enough? And I think what they really meant was they were looking for a specific type, that the very submissive Chinese character.
They wanted a cliche.
And, but of course, I was a young actor then, I took it very personally. And it really confused me. And I want to sort of do a little sidebar, but not quite a sidebar, which is that, in order for me to get jobs, I had to whiten myself inside. You know,
Yeah.
learn all those bag of tricks that white actors had. You know, how to, the timing and the, just the way that you deliver things. You know, it's how white actors delivered it. You know,
Yeah.
What a
and
shame.
that's how I got most of my gigs. You know, like, oh, it's that Asian actor that acts white and he's funny, and our white audiences will get it and they'll laugh and they'll cry. You know.
Yes, sad. Do you think things have changed for the better now, or are you seeing sort of the same thing?
Well,
Alan.
I think it has changed for the better. I don't think we've changed enough. I think we're getting there. What is there? I don't know what is there, but we need to keep working at it until we feel like we don't that this conversation is not as dire as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you.
You know?
What I was gonna is there a piece that either you've acted in or directed in that you would say would be, I don't know, the cherry on the top? I mean, the one that's had the most impact in your career.
Oh, well, a lot of I mean, I put a lot of myself into my pieces. You know, does it translate well at the end? Are they consistent? No, they're not consistent, of course. So, but I love them all dearly. Like, like you love your children. But if I were to look back, on the pieces that I go, yeah, I put a lot of, blood, sweat, and tear behind that, and it came out, very, very nicely, and there are two pieces, and one was Dooley, which I did over at John Sims Center, and that was a one-act piece. It was a two-person play, and it's about Patrick Dooley, who was part of the efforts in Vietnam, and he was in the closet and he was outed by the CIA. But that's just a story. The reason why that has an impact on me was because that was the first time where I understood my power as a director and the storytelling. And from there was like, that's where my jumping off point was for my voice inside, and how I could use that to further, expand on Filipino American storytelling. And then the second piece I did that I thought was incredible was Hedda Gabler, which is an all Filipino cast
Wow.
production.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yeah. And because that really kind of put us through our paces, as Filipino actors, and how does that story, like how is that relevant to the community and blah, 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 blah. So that really tested me. And although I would say that was not completely successful, it really just made me more aware of like where I wanted to go as a storyteller.
Yeah, I remember that being advertised. Who produced that?
It was Bindlestiff.
Bindlestiff. Oh, right on.
Yeah, and Marissa. Oh my goodness, why am I? Marissa Katubig, Esperanza Katubig, who was Hedda Gabler.
Yes.
Right. I was the husband there. And Erlene was in it too.
Was the maid.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to steal the show.
Oh, she was that little maid.
Shoot, I would have loved to have seen it. And I mean,
it was a wonderful production. I really enjoyed that. And for exactly the reasons you're talking about. It's like with my small company, Oakland Public Theater, we did an Ibsen, Mother
Courage?
No. What is it? It's just a one act.
Mother. I know you're talking about. Erlene was in it.
And I've got Mother Love stuck in my head, and maybe it is Mother Love. It is Mother Love. Yeah. It's a beautiful one act, and we said, well, let's do it with a Filipina mother and daughter. Mm-hmm. And so we used Erlina and Mallory, and I felt like it told exactly the same story, right. And yet by putting it in that cultural lens, allowed us to read into it a whole lot of other things. And I love it when you make an audience do that.
Right. Norman, that reminds me of that project you had that was really interesting, the long Christmas dinner.
Oh, I still am trying to find somebody to produce that, to give that a home, because God, that was great.
That was great.
And, we did two cast, one Asian American cast, one African American cast, same play, same every night. So you saw the same story twice. It was,
and it was very different just because of the actors that you used.
Well, I was so excited at that kind of storytelling. I understand people getting the opportunity to tell their story, but part of what history is the way we tell the story of history. So to be able to say, well, let's look at this historical piece, but I can give you 1904. It's not going to be set in Scandinavia. It'll be set in America. It'll be set on the West Coast. It'll be set at the time when, what was it? There was a group of, it was very specific historically. There was a group of young women who had been brought over from the Philippines to be trained as teachers.
Right.
So I just imagined, here's one who ended up hooking up with somebody, getting pregnant, and that took over her life. Like, come on, that happens to everybody. So
right.
Wow, that sounds like an exciting project. Yeah,
it was the Long Christmas Dinner. And I was just talking to somebody about this recently, because I love that if you did it on a regular basis, you get your audience to come every year to see it. You do it with different configurations, give it different cultural lenses, and yet there are the lines that we all know. So every young woman who walks in, her first entrance walks to the front of the stage. She's looking out the picture window, which is the audience, and says, oh, look, the branches of the trees are completely encircled in ice. You almost never see that. By the third or fourth time you hear it in the play, it becomes this call and response with the audience. You want the audience, if they don't actually say the line, that laugh of recognition that happens. And I'm like, again, doesn't matter what culture you are, when you do that, I have now put you, the audience, in the world of that culture. You understand these people.
Right.
Very cool. One question for you, Alan. I mean, this is Pride Month. And, even Vice President Kamala Harris, I mean, she was, I think, the first vice president to march in a gay pride parade. And I think she even did that when she was the DA here in San Francisco. You've seen, I mean, how are things better? I guess, if you can speak as a proud gay man and you're married, and are things better, or do you feel, have you had to go through a lot of adversity as an actor, as a person? I mean, it's wonderful being here in the Bay Area because there's a bubble and, you can feel accepted, I would think. But I mean, how has the journey been?
Well, so I came out in '92, and that was at the height of the AIDS crisis. So from '92 to 2002, that was 10 years of activism and learning and the struggle to really get not just a cure, but to get your everyday human rights and all that, and equality to the LGBT plus community. And I have to say that while it was a lot of work in the '90s, it was also community forming and community bonding, and I really missed that in regards. And once those victories started coming in, there was a lot more, like the community was more relaxed, and they began to integrate more. Everybody was kind of happy with each other, and it was peaceful. But I'm like, sometimes I wish that there was something else to, that really kind of would bring us together. And then, lo and behold, Trump comes in, right? And it not just brought the LGBT plus community, together again, but it just brought other communities in, and we began to really form that that relationship that I was first exposed to in the '90s.
It is interesting how you think people are motivated by love, but sometimes you're motivated by hate and by adversity, and having Trump come in as the sort of ex machina that will destroy, not just the gay community, but, the Black community and the Latino community. And I've even had, Jewish friends saying, oh my God, you're absolutely right. And I wonder about the normalization. I mean, we see, they are gay and transgendered people on television, and you would think, oh, well, things are better now. Things are completely, the struggle is over. And I'm sure, you would probably say, no, not really. There's still.
Not really. And it's just another form of tokenism, where like, oh yeah, we'll cast a Filipino actor in there in this white role because it'll make us look progressive. There's so much more that needs to be done. We need to trust these actors to be able to tell their stories their way, And I mean, let's go back to In the Heights, also, like it didn't do well. It didn't do well at the box office, right? And
Wow.
right? Well, it didn't do as well at the box office as they expected. And I got someone's opinion saying, well, so that means that, Hollywood will probably not do any more, like shows, that include the Latino community in there because it didn't do well. It's like, well, if you look at it from a money perspective, then you're missing the point of,
Right.
Of In the Heights and bringing in more diversity into entertainment. And that's why I say, like, although it all seems great and dandy, I mean, look at like Crazy Rich Asians. I mean, even before that, look at Joy Luck Club. When those two movies came out, it's like, yeah, now finally, Asians are going to be able to like do stuff and have more work available to them. When really no, because it just seems like, well, here's a breadcrumb to you. Here's
right.
Oh, what decade are we in? We need a breadcrumb for
here's your right. Here's your slice. Okay, we gave you your slice. Moving on.
Right. So yeah, we cannot depend on other people to provide us opportunities. We have to make that opportunity for ourselves, and we need to do it as best as we could.
Yeah.
Were you with Theater Rhino?
Oh, ask me that again.
Weren't you with Theater Rhino?
I'm still working with Theater Rhino.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's these organizations that have to carve out space for their identity. It's right. It's always a huge challenge.
In fact, they just did a show, and I think it's closing tomorrow actually, called Pillow Talk. I don't know if you heard about that.
No. Let's get it. We'll get that on.
Yeah, it's a 2-person play. My gosh, Kevin. Oh my God, I'm blanking out on the playwright's name, Kevin something. But it takes place in Oakland, and it's about two black men in Oakland who are hooking up, and one of them is on the DL and has hired this for a lack of a better word, for this prostitute to meet him every night inside of a car.
Yeah, I have that. That premieres June. It opened June the 11th and it closes June the 20th, and we have that. That'll be interesting. We had John. Oh, I forgot his last name. He's the
Fisher.
Director. Yeah, Fisher. Thank you, John Fisher. And he talked about especially it was interesting talking to him on the Yay. It was just him and I. And we were talking because he's an older gay man, and he talked about, I guess, the newer generation. There were all these labels, metrosexual and sapiosexual, and we had a good laugh about that. So it's interesting. I mean, do you have a perspective on how the younger generation, especially the younger gay, lesbian, LGBTQ community, how they identify themselves as opposed to how difficult it was when you were younger? I mean, do you feel that they are more bolder and
there are a lot for them? They are just crashing that ceiling down, to the point where I can't keep up. I'm not, you know what? I'm like, you guys are the next generation. You lead, I will follow. More power to you. Keep up the good work. I mean, as an older person, I may not be totally with what the new verbiage is, and I'm just asking, kind of be patient with me. Like, we had to be patient with our, with the older generation when I was younger.
Right.
I'm still trying to get used to like introducing myself with pronouns.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because I would think, like, when I met you, it was obvious that you were gay.
Right.
But I don't think we ever explicitly talked about it. And I mean, it was one of the things that I found very comforting was that you were just sort of openly, this is who I am. You accept it or you don't. That's your problem. I was like, oh, dude, I love that. But I feel like young people are even more free now to just sort of acknowledge who they are and speak their truth.
Right. And really explore it. And then at some point, maybe they'll come closer to center, but they're just, I think they're just, I wouldn't say enjoying it, but they're just like free to explore who they are.
Yeah. And demanding the respect from people outside watching them, not being afraid, of holding hands and all that sort of stuff, which is wonderful. Right. That's how everyone should be. I did have a quick question. Have you ever thought of someone had posted, always go on the Theater Folks of Color on the, they have a Facebook site
Page, yeah.
page. So here's a question I'll ask the both of you, I know, especially you, Norman, since you're Equity. Ashley Hicks says, so are the people over at Equity AEA unhappy? Because every time I've called and talked to them, they've been so rude. Also, has anyone ever received their membership number before they paid the $600 of the initiation fee? I'm getting conflicting information.
Ooh.
I don't know if you're Equity. Have you even thought of being Equity, Alan?
I have, but me as an actor of color in the Bay Area, I was already having that struggle to get gigs. Being Equity was not going to be
Isn't going to help, right?
Yeah.
No, Equity is a pain in the butt to communicate with. They have a very rigid perspective on the market, and they want to speak their truth, and that's the only truth they want to speak. And so, yeah, it's not surprising to hear people saying that they're having trouble communicating with Equity. And the thing is, once you start to understand what it is Equity wants to accomplish, you can start to make sense of it. I still don't agree. I'm a union member, and I do not agree with a lot of what Equity does in their positions. And right now, more than ever, Equity hasn't been able to get anybody work for the last year. So how are you asking for my money when you can't get me work?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know how you guys are dealing with insurance. I mean, do you still have the health insurance and the medical benefits and all this stuff, even if you're not working?
They have suspended a lot of requirements, and they've extended people's availability. I've rarely qualified, so they take that little bit of money out of every check I get under an Equity contract, but I've rarely qualified to. I finally did when I did not finally, but the last time I did was 2 summers ago when I did As You Like It. And suddenly and it was so funny. I got a whole packet and I was like, I hate it when they send me this junk mail, and I threw it away. And then I realized, oh my God, I qualify. That was actually hey, let's get you in the system.
Yeah. Alan, where do you see yourself in the future? Are you going to stay in the Bay Area? There's so many people who are leaving, like Lorna Velasco. She is in Seattle, I think, with her family. Yeah. What about you and your husband?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to go. Now, and after getting married in September, there's another way to go, right? Wherever I go, I need to, I have to bring my husband, and my husband has to be part of that decision-making skills.
Your head is sinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go.
There we go. Perfect.
So, but I do communicate with my husband and vice versa about our own goals. And I mean, he doesn't mind going where I want to go. If I want to move to New York, if I want to move to LA, or if I want to move to like the middle of, bum F nowhere, he's with me. Professionally, I'm dedicating myself to the Chikahan company, seeing that through. Mm-hmm. And then what happens in 2 or 3 years from that, I hope to expand on Chikahan in other venues, hopefully screenwriting or I don't know what media has in store in 3 years.
I didn't know you wrote. Do you write plays?
I do, but I've been in a very long, dry spell. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Well,
because I write 3 or 4 pages. I'm not satisfied with that. Like, this is so trite.
Well,
you should get it into, of course, Bindlestiff will support that, but also there's Play Cafe and there are all sorts of venues.
Well, I was curious, where's the project that you're doing? Where do you guys have a home?
Well, we're right now underneath Playground SF. So we're with them for about a year. Mm-hmm.
Right on. No, hey, that's fantastic. Speaking of Bindlestiff, they have now, of course, we pump the Yay podcast, but Bindlestiff has a podcast, the Fobcast. And we want to push that. That's a podcast exploring Filipino-American immigrant stories produced by Bindlestiff Studios. And they have episode 2. So go check that out. And we will push that as well. I was going to ask you, Alan, have you done film at all? Or like everyone's doing? I did
a few student films. Yeah, I did a few student films. It's just so hard for me to watch myself and take myself seriously in that sense. And I know I should really get over it. But yeah, I'm willing to jump back into that pool.
Yeah, no, I think you'd be fantastic. You'd be great. All righty, we are hitting, it's about 3 minutes to 1 hour, so I guess we should go into shout outs, birthdays.
Birthdays. It was weird to look too, because there was a time when I would have known what day it was. My first serious love, it's her birthday today, Alex Branch. We met in high school doing theater, and her birthday is today. Wanda Sabir is a Bay Area, I'm not sure how she would label herself now. She was a reviewer and critic. And I think now she does a podcast. She has a regular ongoing thing where she still keeps her finger in the pulse of what's going on, particularly in Black theater, but in theater in general. If you're a performer, if you're a Black performer, letting Wanda know that you're in a show somewhere can get your show some attention. It's very cool. Leanne Lam, who is involved with the, contemporary Asian theater scene. Yeah, CATS down in San Jose. Her birthday's coming up this week. Don't think it's today. I think it's later this week. Larry Reed is the Bay Area has some very unique talents in our theater scene. Larry Reed does shadow puppetry. And I can't, I would mess it up if I even tried to say where it's from, but from Southeast Asia. And I got to do, it's coming up in about a week or so. Golden Thread is doing I forget what they're calling it, but it's their vintage work. They're doing these broadcasts of their vintage work. We did a play called The Love Missile, and he did a bunch of the shadow work for us. Sonia Alar is somebody very dear to my heart. We went to Cal Arts together, and then both of us ended up not finishing Cal Arts, but going on to have wonderful theater careers. Brian Freeman, amazing African-American actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah. Brian is, he was one of the founders or the creators of Apropos Homos, among many other things. He also, I wanted to do this role in the America play, which Thick Description did, and Brian was the one who got to bring it to life. It was gorgeous. He was such an incredible performer. Dan Wolf. Dan Wolf and I are those sorts of performers where we know each other's names. We have been in various spaces together. I don't think we've actually ever worked together, but he's an amazing writer, performer, director, teacher. Mara Marie Lacquant. I haven't known many Maras in my life, but suddenly I was working with two of them and I married one. This is the other one. And she's an educator, theater director. John Kalaki. The people that we don't always give enough shout outs to are the people who support theater. John Kalaki used to live here in San Francisco and was very big in, was it the Hotel Fund or the other SF? It was the SF, it was an arts fund in SF. And, those people sit and they decide who gets money and who doesn't. John Kalaki showed up. He was at shows all the time, very supportive of the Bay Area theater community. And now he lives in like Vermont or something. Got a couple more. Tess DeLucci. I hope I didn't mess up her name. Tess is one of those people, when you get old, there are people that you meet as little kids. Like she was literally probably 3 or 4 years old when I met her. And now she's a grown-ass woman. Her mom was in the show that we did with Arlene and Mallory. And so Tess kept getting dragged into shows as a child. I don't know that she continued it. And then the last one I have is Cindy White, Cindy L. White, she goes by. Is somebody I met when Oakland Public Theater was first putting together the shows that we were doing in reading series. So those are the birthdays that are coming up that I have for this week.
And my list is short. Eve Teak, I've worked with her. We did Skin of Our Teeth? Yes, Skin of Our Teeth at the the DMT, the Douglas Morrison Theater, along with her brother Don Teak. Eve Teak, her birthday is the 20th, so happy birthday to her. Also on the 20th, Dion Aquino Chi. I believe that's Dion, of course, one of the ex-Bindlestiffers. And she is I think she's in Arizona.
That's Lorna's sister.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And she's selling cannabis and she's enjoying life. So also,
hey, we need some sponsorship.
Yeah, that's right. Also, Ricky Juster, and I remember doing a bunch of readings for her. The Douglas Morrison Theater, at least when Susan Evans ran it, they did a lot of readings, especially with high school kids, getting high school kids to be playwrights. And we actors would read for them, and that was fantastic. And Ricky was has been one of the readers for that. And her birthday is on the 21st. Do I have two more? I think I have two more. Karen Daniels. So this was a teacher of mine at Duke Ellington School of the Arts. She was a short dancer, but she just had so full of energy. And I think it's been 30 years, a little over 30 years that I've graduated. But she is still online, very vibrant. She's traveling, and she doesn't seem to age at all. But her birthday is on the 23rd. Happy birthday, Karen. And the last one I have, Tim Holt Jones. And Tim Holt Jones did a reading for, I think he's been heavily involved in Playground, and he was involved in, oh shucks, I wrote a play called Judicial Process, and he was part of the Brecht Project, and he was Judge Bennett. And he was just fantastic. And that's it. Shows.
Afro Solo, my story. It's so funny. I have a better link, so I'm going to throw that in the chat for you. But because the link that I had before went to the Afro Solo page, but you couldn't find my show. I directed My Story by Vernon Medeiros, and so I have a better link for that. Manifesto is a stage piece that was created by Rotimi Akababiaka. Always worried about messing up his name. Rotimi is an amazing performer. I got to see him in a show at Shotgun. And so he's written and created his own piece, and they've turned it into a film. It's directed by Idris Cooper. And so they are doing an in-person thing at Brava tomorrow night at 7:00. And I will give you a link for that. You said you already have Pillow Talk. And then it looks like we're going to have, coming up in the next month, Bill Bivens on, playwright, who I met through Playground. And he's got this series that he's doing of audio pieces called Pulp Scripture. And so I have a link for that. So those are the things I've got coming up. No live ones. I think just the ones that you already know about.
Yeah, I've got a couple here. What's in a Name? Theater First is doing that. John Tracy is directing that. Also, a good friend of mine, Brenna Kimmerly, she was in a musical that I wrote, and now she is in Circus. Cabrillo Stage, they're doing that only 3 days, July the 9th through the 11th. Also, Shylock is being done at Tabard Theater. That's being directed by John Rice Williams, who was on episode 158 of the A. Hold Me the Forgotten Way. That's being done by About Face Theater. Eli Sonny Urquiza is directing that. And that will be, that's streaming until December the 31st. It's streamed June the 16th. We talked about Pillow Talk Theater. Rhinoceros is doing that. That opened June the 11th, and it ends.
And the playwright's Kevin LeBron. I wanted to give him a shout out because I felt really bad about not remembering his name. Kevin LeBron.
Yeah, Kevin LeBron. Yeah, and that'll be theaterrhino.org, and we'll have a link so you can click onto that and check that out. Lorraine Hansberry Theater / Z Space is sponsoring Intimate Apparel, and that is streaming right now. Janae Simon is in that. We've been trying in vain to get her on the show. You forgot to mention, I think it's still going on, Begin.
Oh, right, with Oakland Theater Project.
Exactly. Co-directed by Don Trope. That's still going on. Shakespod, Titus Andronicus and Richard III. So that is coming up. We've been advertising that. Alan Coyne is Demetrius in Titus, and that'll begin streaming June the 26th. And then in August will be Richard III. Lamont Rigel will be Richard III, and Cynthia Lagozinski will be the Duchess of York. And we've talked about quickfire monologues based on weekly prompt. Writers write monologues and actors record them. So if you want to be involved in that, we have the email quickfiremonologues@gmail.com. So you can check that out.
And I've got, let me see if I actually have details. So a friend of mine, Neil Harkins, is put a play in at the Playwright Center, San Francisco. And so I don't think I have a date for when that's happening. No, I don't. But Lamont is
Oh,
going to be
Lamont is in that. Okay.
Yes.
I
So
wonder if
small
that is,
world.
I wonder if that's Neighborhood Watch. I'm thinking. In any case,
Maybe.
maybe.
Alan, any shows you want to shout out or anything we
So
didn't?
we're working. So Chicana is working on a show. We got our first draft, and it's a collaboration between Conrad Panginiban and Lauren Garcia, and it goes up in November. So once we get all the details together, I'm sure that we'll send it to you. We'll send the press release.
Yay.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely push it. We'll definitely push it.
Yeah.
Alan, did you have a good time today?
I had a great time. It's also good to hear that John Tracy his show's going up. John and I are also, we come from Vallejo. We did Vallejo Youth Conservatory together.
Nice.
That he's doing really well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, small world, huh? That's awesome. I never know who, who knows everybody, but it's a small world, and that's fantastic. Alan, thank you so much for coming on, and it's been wonderful speaking to you again. I haven't seen your face. Hell, it's been 10 years, so it's cool.
We need to fix that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we definitely can now that we can actually go outside, and I think yesterday CDC? No, it's OSHA. They finally said that workers can not wear their masks anymore. So I'm sure.
Right. And any excuse for me to go to Jack London Square.
There you go. Come on down. We're ready for you. All righty. Well, you're probably watching this for our viewers on YouTube. So please like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. If there's anything that you would love for us to talk about, just let us know and we will take care of that. If you're listening to us on any podcast, we're on any podcast. We're also on Spotify. We're on that purple podcast app if you have an iPhone or an iPad. If you're an Android user, you can use the SoundCloud app or just go on soundcloud.com and you will find us. The Yay was created by theater people for theater people. If you have a show you want to advertise, or if you just want to advertise yourself, let us know. Hit us up. We're on Spotify. We're on Twitter. We actually have the Yay 1 on Twitter.
So Yay 3.
Yay 3. That's right. Yay 3.
Yay 3. Yeah, we didn't get there first. Damn it.
Yeah. My personal Twitter and Snapchat, not Snapchat, but Instagram is Red Space Clay.
And mine's Who's Your Hoosier.
How about you, Alan? How can people directly contact you?
Oh my God, I'm so old school. I don't have a website or anything. You can stalk me on Facebook.
Yay.
I will say okay.
If you're looking for a fantastic actor and director, you can't go wrong with Alan Quismorio. He is really seasoned and he's just fantastic. In any case, it's a wonderful Saturday, so everyone enjoy yourselves. And as Norman and I always say,
we gotta find a better sign-off.
And we are